Live from NPR News, I'm Corva Coleman. The FBI says it has conducted activity authorized by a court at the home of Ambassador John Bolton. The search is outside Washington, D.C. Bolton was the national security advisor to President Trump in his first term. Bolton is now a fierce Trump critic who has spoken out repeatedly. Trump pulled Bolton's security clearance and his protective detail, even though Bolton has been threatened by Iran's government. The world's leading experts on food insecurity have confirmed that famine now exists in northern Gaza. The expert panel says more than 500,000 Palestinians are at risk of dying from starvation. Hundreds of thousands more Palestinians face catastrophic food shortages. Israel significantly restricted aid supplies into Gaza last March, including relief aid from the UN. Tom Fletcher is the Undersecretary General with the UN's Office on Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief.
Be in no doubt that this is irrefutable testimony. It is a famine, the Gaza famine. It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. Yet food stacks up at borders because of systematic obstruction by Israel.
Israel says there is no famine. Israeli officials say the expert report uses unreliable sources and only helps Hamas's fake campaign. A Republican-led House panel will receive the first wave of Jeffrey Epstein files today from the Justice Department. NPR's Claudia Grisales reports the DOJ is responding to a series of congressional subpoenas issued earlier this month.
House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said victims' names will be redacted from the Epstein records before releasing the files to the public.
We're going to be transparent. We're doing what we said we would do. We're getting the documents, and I believe the White House will work with us.
The committee is playing the largest role so far investigating the case, with about a dozen subpoenas issued so far, including demands for testimony from former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. It marks a major step for Republicans who have faced months of demands from their base, who say the party broke a campaign promise by not releasing the records sooner. Claudia Grisales, NPR News.
A federal judge in Miami is ordering the shutdown of an immigration detention center in the Florida Everglades. President Trump and state officials call it Alligator Alcatraz. NPR's Greg Allen reports environmental groups sued to block the facility.
Environmental groups filed a lawsuit saying that the hasty construction of the detention center without public input or an environmental impact statement violated federal law. Florida and the Trump administration argued that because it was built by the state, federal law didn't apply. U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams disagreed, noting that the camp was built at the request of the administration and that all immigration enforcement activities at the camp are under federal control. Quoting an earlier court decision, she said, "If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and looks like a duck, then it's a duck." Williams ordered all activities at the site to shut down within 60 days. Florida says it's appealing her decision. Greg Allen, NPR News, Miami.
President Trump visited with National Guard and federal law enforcement forces in Washington, D.C. yesterday. NPR's Franco Ordonez reports Trump is boasting he's reduced crime in the city.
Carrying a handheld microphone, President Trump strolled into a group of law enforcement officers wearing vests that identified them as FBI and Secret Service, D.C. Metropolitan Police, and National Guard troops in fatigues. The president thanked them for their efforts to address what he has described as rampant crime and homelessness.
We've had some incredible results. The results have come out, and it's like a different place. It's like a different city. It's the capital. It's going to be the best in the world.
He also promised to improve areas maintained by the National Park Service, including planting new grass. Trump had earlier suggested he would be going out on patrol with the officers. Instead, he brought them hamburgers and pizza. Franco Ordonez, NPR News, the White House.
California officials have denied parole to Erik Menendez. He's one of two brothers convicted of murdering their parents more than 30 years ago in a case that drew a lot of attention. Steve Futterman reports from San Diego.
The board met for nearly 10 hours, hearing testimony from Erik Menendez and others, including his supporters and relatives, who urged the board to recommend release. The LA County District Attorney's Office also took part, arguing against any release. In announcing the decision, Commissioner Robert Barton said, "I believe in redemption." but believe you pose a continued risk to public safety. He acknowledged the sexual abuse suffered by Menendez at the hands of his father. However, he said there were other things he could have done, including reaching out to police. Erik Menendez can next appear before a parole board in 3 years. On Friday, his brother Lyle will have his hearing. For NPR News, I'm Steve Futterman in San Diego.
California Democratic lawmakers have passed a controversial redistricting proposal. It seeks to redraw congressional districts held by Republicans and flip them to Democratic control. This comes as Texas lawmakers consider a similar effort to boost Republicans. Cap Radio's Laura Fitzgerald reports.
The California proposal could yield 5 new congressional seats for Democrats next year. Governor Gavin Newsom says the plan will nullify the Texas redistricting proposal.
Because when all things are equal, we're all playing by the same set of rules, there's no question that the Republican Party will be the minority party in the House of Representatives next year.
Republicans oppose the legislation, arguing it sidelines California's independent redistricting commission. The measure now heads to voters who will weigh in during a special election on November 4th. For NPR News, I'm Laura Fitzgerald in Sacramento.
The Justice Department has hired an attorney who represented people accused of violent acts during the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. The attorney has compared the defendants' prosecutions to the Holocaust. NPR's Tom Dreisbach prepared this report.
Before he joined the Department of Justice, Jonathan Gross served as a defense attorney for multiple violent January 6th defendants. An NPR review of his media appearances and social media posts found that he advocated for reparations for Capitol riot defendants, shared conspiracy theories about the attack, and in a YouTube interview, he compared the prosecutions to the Nazi genocide.
These prosecutors are evil people. They will put you on a cattle car to Auschwitz without batting an eye.
Gross joined the Justice Department in June, and sources tell NPR he is working on the administration's investigation into the alleged weaponization of law enforcement. Tom Dreisbach, NPR News.
The Trump administration has rescinded long-standing guidance for schools on the rights of students who are learning English. NPR's Janet Woo-Jung Lee reports.
Crafters of the Obama-era guidance argued that its purpose was to comply with the Civil Rights Act, that all students shouldn't be discriminated by their national origin and can, quote, have equal access to a high-quality education. An Ed Department spokesperson wrote in a statement to NPR that the now rescinded guidance was overly prescriptive and micromanaging of how states implement English learning programs, and that each state should be able to independently decide how to best educate non-English speaking students. Roughly 5 million public school students in the United States don't yet speak English. Janet Woo-Jung Lee, NPR News.
And you're listening to NPR News.